Imagine standing on the shore of a vast cosmic ocean. That ocean is time itself. Its currents stretch back billions of years to the birth of our universe. And somewhere, in a small, sheltered bay of that ocean, our human story began. We are a curious species. We look up at the stars and wonder about our place in the cosmos. We also look down at the earth and into the past. We want to know where we came from. This quest for origins is a fundamental part of being human. It drives us to explore, to discover, and to understand our shared journey through time. What do we mean when we say civilization? It's a big word, filled with many ideas. For some it means grand cities and towering monuments. For others it's about laws, art, and shared knowledge. Think of it as a group of people learning to live together on a larger scale. They build communities, develop new ways to organize themselves, and create unique cultures. They innovate, they trade, they tell stories. The journey towards civilization wasn't a single event. It was a slow, unfolding process happening in different places at different times all across our planet Earth. The search for the first civilization is like a grand detective story. The clues are buried deep in the earth, waiting to be found. These clues can be fragments of pottery, the foundations of ancient buildings, or even the faintest traces of forgotten languages. Each discovery adds a piece to an enormous puzzle. Why does finding the oldest matter so much? Perhaps it's because it connects us to the very dawn of complex human society. It reminds us that our modern world, with all its technology and complexity, stands on the shoulders of these ancient pioneers. So let us embark on an adventure. We will travel back thousands of years. We will explore sun-drenched lands where the first cities rose from the earth. We will meet the people who built them, understand their dreams, their struggles, and their incredible achievements. This journey into the deep past is more than just history. It's a journey to understand ourselves. Because the story of the first civilizations is, in many ways, the beginning of our own story. A story that continues to unfold across the vast expanse of space-time. Archaeologists are our time detectives. They don't chase criminals. They chase echoes of the past. Their work requires immense patience. Imagine sifting through layers of dust and earth, each layer representing centuries or even millennia. They carefully brush away the soil, hoping to uncover a piece of a pot, a foundation stone, or a forgotten tool. These finds are not just objects. They are whispers from people who lived long, long ago. They tell us how these ancient humans lived, what they believed, and how they shaped their world. It's a meticulous process, a slow uncovering of humanity's hidden chapters. The tools of an archaeologist are not just shovels and brushes, though those are important too. Today, science plays a huge role in peering into the past. Think about radiocarbon dating. This amazing technique allows scientists to measure the age of organic materials, things like bone, wood, or seeds. By analyzing the decay of carbon-14, a radioactive isotope of carbon, they can pinpoint when that plant or animal was alive. This gives us a timeline, a way to order the discoveries and understand how old these ancient settlements truly are. It's like having a cosmic clock for human history. However, the path of discovery is filled with challenges. Time is a powerful force. It erodes, it buries, it transforms. Many ancient sites have been lost forever, destroyed by nature or by later human activity. Sometimes all that remains are faint traces, silent stones that archaeologists must interpret. What did this wall mean? What was this object used for? It's like trying to read a book where most of the pages are missing or written in a language we barely understand. Yet the dedication of these researchers helps us piece together remarkable stories from these fragments. Each new discovery, no matter how small, can be a vital piece of the human puzzle. A single shard of pottery can reveal trade routes spanning hundreds of miles. The layout of an ancient village can tell us about social structures and community life. These discoveries are not just for dusty museums, they expand our understanding of human ingenuity, our capacity for cooperation, and our long journey from small hunter-gatherer groups to complex societies. The Earth still holds many secrets, and archaeologists are on the front lines ready to uncover them. Our journey now takes us to a specific region of our planet, a place often called the cradle of civilization. This is Mesopotamia, a Greek name meaning the land between the rivers. The two vital rivers are the Tigris and the Euphrates. These rivers originate in the mountains to the north and flow southwards, creating a fertile arc of land in an otherwise arid region. This area, part of what we call the Fertile Crescent, became a stage for some of humanity's most profound transformations. It was here that some of the very first steps towards complex urban life were taken. Why Mesopotamia? What made this land so special? The answer lies largely with those two magnificent rivers. Each year, they would flood, depositing rich fertile silt onto the surrounding plains. This made the land incredibly productive for agriculture. Early farmers learned to harness the power of the rivers, developing irrigation systems to water their crops. This agricultural surplus was key. It meant that not everyone had to be a farmer. Some people could specialize in other crafts, become priests or administrators. This is a crucial ingredient for the development of cities and complex societies. For thousands of years, small farming villages dotted the plains of Mesopotamia. People lived in simple houses, cultivated their fields, and herded animals. But over time, something began to change. Some of these villages grew larger. They became more organized. Perhaps they offered better protection, or they were located at important trade crossroads. These burgeoning settlements were the seeds from which the world's first true cities would eventually sprout. It wasn't a sudden event, but a gradual evolution, a slow gathering of people and ideas in one place. And then, a remarkable people emerged in southern Mesopotamia, the Sumerians. Their origins are still debated by scholars, a fascinating mystery in itself. But what is undeniable is their incredible ingenuity and their lasting impact on human history. The Sumerians are credited with many firsts: the first known system of writing, the invention of the wheel, or at least its widespread application for transport, the development of mathematics, and the creation of epic literature. They built impressive cities, organized complex governments, and worshipped a pantheon of gods and goddesses. Their story is central to understanding the dawn of civilization. Deep in southern Mesopotamia, now modern-day Iraq, lies the ancient site of Tel Abu Sharain. This is the location of Eridu, a city that holds a powerful claim to be one of the world's oldest, perhaps even oldest, urban settlement. Sumerian king lists, ancient texts themselves often name Eridu as the very first city, where kingship descended from heaven. Imagine the awe these ancient scribes felt, looking back at Eridu as the birthplace of their own urban world. Modern archaeology has sought to test this ancient claim, digging deep into the sands of time. The archaeological exploration of Eridu began in the mid-19th century, but significant excavations were carried out in the 1940s by Iraqi archaeologist Fuad Safar and British archaeologist Seton Lloyd. What they found was astonishing. Layer upon layer of occupation, like a giant cake of history. Each layer represented a different period of the city's life, built one on top of the other over many centuries. The lowest, earliest levels of Eridu date back to around 5400 BCE, during what archaeologists call the Ubaid period. This pushes the origins of urban life incredibly far back into the past. One of the most remarkable discoveries at Eridu is a sequence of temples. Archaeologists uncovered at least 18 distinct temple structures built successively on the same sacred spot. The earliest shrine was a simple, small room, perhaps no bigger than a modern living room, dating to the Ubaid period. Over centuries and then millennia, this temple was rebuilt again and again, each time larger and more elaborate than the last. This continuity is extraordinary. It suggests a deep-seated religious tradition and a community dedicated to its gods for an incredibly long period. What do these ancient temple platforms, growing larger with each iteration, tell us? They speak of a community coming together for a shared purpose. They suggest an increasing level of social organization and available resources to undertake such construction projects. The focus on a central temple complex indicates the importance of religion in the daily lives and governance of Eridu's inhabitants. These sacred structures were not just places of worship. They were likely the heart of the city, centers of administration, and symbols of the community's identity and connection to the divine. Section 5. Life in Ancient Eridu, Temples, Homes, and Society. Let's try to imagine what daily life might have been like in ancient Eridu, over 7,000 years ago. The air would have been filled with the sounds of a bustling community, the chatter of people, the bleating of sheep and goats, the hammering of artisans. The smell of wood fires, baking bread, and the nearby marshes would have been ever present. This wasn't a silent, empty ruin. It was a vibrant, living place, one of the first of its kind on Earth. People were busy, working, raising families, and participating in the life of their growing city. The homes of ordinary people in Eridu were typically constructed from mud bricks, a readily available material in Mesopotamia. These houses were often simple, rectangular structures, sometimes with several rooms organized around a central courtyard. This design provided shade and ventilation in the hot climate. Inside, families would have cooked, slept, and carried out their daily chores. Archaeologists find remnants of pottery for storing food and water, grinding stones for grain, and simple tools used for farming or crafts. Life was undoubtedly hard by our standards, but it was a life lived in community. The temple, dedicated to the god Enki, the god of water, wisdom, and creation, was the dominant feature of Eridu. Enki was a very important deity for a city located near the marshes and reliant on water for its survival. The temple was not just a place for religious rituals, it also served as an administrative and economic center. It likely controlled significant amounts of land, collected surplus goods, and redistributed them to the community or supported craft specialists. The priests who managed the temple would have held considerable influence and power within Eridu's society. As Eridu grew, its society likely became more structured. We can infer the beginnings of social hierarchy. There were priests and possibly other elite figures who oversaw the temple and administration. There were farmers who worked the surrounding lands, providing food for the city. There were artisans who crafted pottery, tools, and perhaps textiles. There were fishers who brought in protein from the rivers and marshes. This specialization of labor is a hallmark of developing urban centers. It allowed for greater efficiency and the development of new skills and technologies that propelled the city forward. Section 6. Innovations of an Ancient People. Eridu's Technological Leap. The people of ancient Eridu were innovators. Like all humans, they faced challenges in their environment, and they used their ingenuity to find solutions. This drive to solve problems, to make life a little easier or more predictable, is a powerful engine of technological advancement. In Eridu, we see some of the early sparks of this transformative process. These weren't high-tech gadgets by our standards, of course, but for their time, these developments were revolutionary. They laid the groundwork for many technologies that would shape the course of human civilization. One of the key innovations we see clearly in the archaeological record of Eridu is pottery. In the earliest levels, pottery was handmade and relatively simple. But over time, the people of Eridu and the broader Ubaid culture became skilled potters. They developed techniques for producing finer, more durable, and often beautifully decorated ceramics. Some of this pottery appears to have been made on a slow potter's wheel or tournet, which allowed for more uniform shapes and faster production. This suggests a move towards specialized craft production, perhaps even for trade with other settlements. Living in a fertile but arid land, managing water was crucial for survival and prosperity. The people of Eridu and other early Mesopotamian settlements were pioneers in developing irrigation techniques. They learned to dig canals to divert water from the Euphrates River and nearby marshes to their fields. This allowed them to cultivate crops like barley and wheat more reliably and achieve greater yields. This agricultural surplus was fundamental. It supported a growing population, allowed for specialization of labor, and freed up resources for other activities like building temples and developing crafts. While true writing in the form of cuneiform script would develop later in Sumer, in cities like Uruk, we see precursors to record-keeping in places like Eridu. Archaeologists have found clay tokens of various shapes which some scholars believe were used for accounting, perhaps to keep track of commodities like grain or livestock. They also used stamp seals carved with designs to impress on clay, perhaps to mark ownership or authorize transactions. These simple administrative tools were vital for managing the increasingly complex economy and social organization of a growing urban center. Section 7. The Measure of Age. What makes a civilization oldest? When we talk about the oldest civilization, what exactly are we measuring? It's not just about finding the oldest human settlement. Humans have lived in small groups and villages for tens of thousands of years. The term civilization usually implies something more complex. Archaeologists and historians have a set of criteria they often use to define what constitutes a civilization. These criteria help us distinguish early cities and state-level societies from simpler, smaller-scale communities. It's a way to categorize a particular stage of human social development. Some key hallmarks of civilization include urbanism, the presence of cities, which are larger and more densely populated than villages, and serve as centers for political, economic, and religious activity. Another is monumental architecture, such as large temples, palaces, or public works, which require significant labor and organization to construct. We also look for social stratification, meaning society is organized into different classes or hierarchies. The development of a state-level political organization with a centralized government and institutions is also crucial. And often, though not always universally, a system of writing for record-keeping and communication is present. So how does Eridu stack up against these criteria? The evidence suggests Eridu was certainly one of the earliest settlements to exhibit many of these characteristics, at least in their nascent forms. It was a substantial settlement, arguably a town or early city, with a clear focus on monumental temple architecture that grew over millennia. The temple complex itself implies a degree of social organization and a priestly class. While full-fledged writing came later, the tokens and seals suggest early administrative needs. Eridu represents a critical step on the path towards what we fully recognize as Sumerian civilization. It's important to note that the oldest title can be debated. Sites like Göbekli Tepe in Turkey are much older, around 9,500 BCE, and show stunning monumental ritual architecture, but they don't seem to have been large residential settlements or cities in the same way. Çatalhöyük, also in Turkey, around 7,500 BCE, was a very large Neolithic town, but its organization differs from what we see in early Mesopotamian cities. Eridu's claim often rests on its continuous development towards urbanism and its deep cultural significance within the Sumerian tradition itself, which regarded it as the first city. Section 8. Threads of Influence. Eridu's Legacy to Sumer and Beyond. Eridu did not exist in a vacuum. It was not an isolated spark of urban life that then faded away. Instead, it was a vital part of the broader cultural blossoming that took place in southern Mesopotamia, the rise of Sumerian civilization. The innovations and traditions that began or were nurtured in Eridu likely played a significant role in shaping what came after. Think of it as one of the first notes in a grand symphony, a note that resonated and was built upon by other emerging city-states in the region. Its story is interwoven with the larger narrative of Sumer. One of the most enduring legacies of Eridu was its religious importance. The city was considered the sacred home of Enki, later known as Ea, by the Akkadians and Babylonians, the god of fresh water, wisdom, magic, and craftsmanship. This made Eridu a major pilgrimage site and a center of religious authority for a very long time. The cult of Enki, with its associated myths and rituals, spread throughout Mesopotamia and influenced the religious beliefs of later peoples. Even when Eridu's political or economic power waned, its spiritual significance endured for millennia. The architectural and urban planning ideas seen in Eridu may also have influenced other Sumerian cities that rose to prominence later, such as Uruk, Ur, and Lagash. The concept of a city centered around a major temple complex, the use of mud brick architecture, and perhaps even early forms of urban layout, could have been models that were adapted and expanded upon. The continuous rebuilding and enlargement of the temple at Eridu demonstrate a long-term commitment to monumental construction that became a hallmark of Sumerian city-states, each vying to build grander temples for their patron deities. Perhaps Eridu's most profound, though indirect influence was its role in pioneering the very concept of the city itself within the Sumerian world. The Sumerians are often credited with inventing the city as a way of life, a dense concentration of people, specialized labor, centralized authority, and monumental public spaces. Eridu stands at the very beginning of this urban experiment in Mesopotamia. This new form of human settlement, the city, would prove to be one of the most transformative innovations in human history, eventually spreading across the globe and fundamentally reshaping how humanity lives, works, and interacts. Section 9. Our Cosmic Connection, Why Ancient Stories Still Matter. When we gaze up at the night sky, we see stardust, the remnants of ancient stars that formed the building blocks of our planet and ourselves. In a similar way, when we look back at these ancient civilizations, we are looking at the stardust of human society. The people of Eridu and other early cities were pioneers. They were conducting the first grand experiments in how to live together in large, complex communities. Their successes and failures, their innovations and their beliefs are part of our collective human heritage. We are connected to them across the vastness of time. What can we learn from studying these incredibly ancient societies? We learn about human resilience. Life in the ancient world was often harsh, subject to droughts, floods, and disease. Yet these people persevered, they adapted, they built. We also learn about the enduring power of human ingenuity. Faced with challenges, they developed new technologies, new forms of social organization, and new ways of understanding the world around them. Their stories remind us of our own capacity for creativity and problem-solving, a capacity we desperately need in our modern world. The stories of ancient civilizations also offer us valuable lessons for our future. They show us the complexities of societal living, the challenges of governance, resource management, social inequality, and environmental impact. These are not new problems. They are ancient problems that humanity has wrestled with for millennia. By understanding how past societies confronted these issues, we gain a deeper perspective on the challenges we face today. History, even ancient history, can be a powerful guide as we navigate the complexities of our present and try to build a better future. The quest to understand our origins is an ongoing journey. New archaeological discoveries are made all the time, revising our understanding and pushing back the frontiers of knowledge. The story of humanity and the story of civilization is still being written, layer by layer. Each fragment uncovered, each ancient text deciphered, adds another sentence, another paragraph to this epic narrative. By exploring these echoes from the dawn of civilization, we not only learn about our past, we learn more about who we are and what it means to be human on this small blue planet, adrift in a vast cosmic sea.